Hey everyone! Today we're exploring another chilling and disturbing case. If you'd like to support the channel, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and stay engaged. It really means a lot. I truly appreciate it. Now, take a deep breath and let's dive in. For 28 years, her name was buried in a cold case file. Her family cried for justice. Her stepfather led the search parties, but beneath the pastor's office, Ivy Richard was waiting to be found. Ivy Richard was just 17 when she vanished after a late shift at the diner in Dallas, Texas. A bright, church-going teenager, a gifted pianist, a girl everyone loved, except the man who lived in her house. April 2022, anonymous tip received. An envelope arrives at the Dallas PD. No return address, just 6 words. Check the floor beneath his office. Police reopen the long-forgotten file of Ivy Richard. They remember her because of how quickly the case died after it began. Her stepfather, Daniel Richard, had convinced everyone she ran away. He was a police officer, a church deacon, respected, unquestioned. Until now, investigators head to Grace Redeemer Baptist Church, where Daniel served as a youth pastor. Underneath a sealed crawl space in the church office, they break the concrete. What they find stops them cold. Bone fragments, a pink locket, Ivy's name tag from the diner. DNA confirms Ivy Richard never ran away. She was buried under the church. We never had proof, but we always had a feeling. Something about Daniel. He was the one who called off the search just 2 weeks in. As they dig further into Daniel's life, it all starts to unravel. Ivy had confided in a school counselor. He watches me sleep. Her diary, recovered from old evidence storage, describes years of sexual abuse masked in religious guilt. Daniel had signed a $100,000 life insurance policy on Ivy just a month before she disappeared. And then, the biggest shock yet, 3 other girls from his former youth group come forward, each with eerily similar stories of coercion, spiritual manipulation, and threats. May 2024, Daniel Richard, now 62, is arrested during Sunday service. He doesn't resist. He doesn't speak. He doesn't blink. In court, he pleads not guilty. But prosecutors believe Ivy's case is just beginning, because hidden inside Daniel's old storage locker, investigators find a lockbox. Inside, old photographs of other girls, a list of names and dates, and a flash drive with a single folder labeled Confessions. What was on the drive would shake Texas law enforcement to its core. Because Ivy's case, it wasn't an isolated tragedy. It was part of a pattern spanning 2 decades, 5 counties, and dozens of girls. The flash drive recovered from Daniel Richard's storage unit contains 17 video files, dozens of scanned letters, a spreadsheet titled Redemption Circle 1991 to 2009. Each folder contains intimate photos, coded notes, and church rosters with stars beside girls' names. Victim 2 was marked with Ivy's initials, but victim 3 to 17, they were still alive. Investigators discovered the drive documents a disturbing alliance between 6 men, 3 pastors, 2 youth leaders, 1 local sheriff, all part of a traveling ministry called the Redemption Circle, a touring evangelical revival that moved across Texas from 1991 to 2009. Each time the group held a revival, a girl went missing, got pregnant, or dropped out of church and school entirely. They weren't strangers. They were close friends, sharing victims and covering for each other. When police tried to subpoena records from the churches involved, they hit walls. Files missing, pastors transferred, parents paid off. One anonymous woman calls in. My daughter tried to report what happened in '97. Pastor Simmons told us God would punish her for seducing a man of cloth. Multiple parents say they were shamed into silence. Some were financially compensated. Others were told it would ruin the ministry if they spoke out. Camille, now 36, was the first girl listed after Ivy on Daniel's spreadsheet. She testifies publicly. He baptized me. Then he baptized my silence with fear. We were never confused. We were never complicit. We were just children with no one to protect us. Her statement goes viral. 3 more survivors come forward that week. All of them were part of the Redemption Circle's Chosen Girls Purity Mentorship. September 2024. Construction workers digging an abandoned church in Waco uncover human remains wrapped in choir robes. Dental records confirm Rachel Eldon, age 15, missing since 1996. The exact same year the Redemption Circle held a revival there. Daniel Richard remains silent in custody, but one of his old associates doesn't. Pastor Elwood Simmons, terminally ill and 71, agrees to a plea deal. He says, Ivy wasn't the first, but she was the only one who fought back. That's why Daniel buried her beneath his pulpit, to prove she'd never rise again. What investigators discover next shakes them and the victims' families to their core, because there was a 7th man in the group, and he's not just alive. He's preaching today, with thousands of followers and a seat on a national faith council. He baptized thousands, hosted televised revivals, sat beside governors and presidential candidates. But behind the curtain, he was the missing piece in a predator ring that spanned 3 decades. When Pastor Simmons confessed to the Redemption Circle Brotherhood, he mentioned 6 names already under investigation. But then he paused and said, there was one more. He called himself the prophet. We called him the umbrella, because when things got hot, he shielded us. That man, Reverend Thomas Caulder, megachurch leader, televangelist, founder of New Anointing Global Ministries, a congregation of over 80,000 followers across 4 countries, regular guest on morning TV shows, wrote best-selling books on purity and prosperity, advisor to political campaigns on Christian family values, held a White House prayer breakfast in 2006. To the world, Caulder was a father figure, but behind the scenes, he allegedly coordinated grooming assignments through the Redemption Circle's mentorship programs. A former church IT assistant leaks hundreds of emails and internal messages from Caulder's ministry archive. What they reveal, secret payments to families, relocation of accused pastors with glowing references, a fast-track baptism program for vulnerable girls, hashtags trend worldwide, hashtag prophet predator, hashtag justice for Ivy, hashtag stop the circle. Caulder releases a statement. These are vicious lies from the enemy. I've never hurt a child. My ministry is under attack from demonic forces. But behind closed doors, he hires the same high-profile attorney who once represented a convicted cult leader. Grace Eldon, mother of Rachel Eldon, whose body was found in Waco, goes public with a shocking claim. In 1995, we met Pastor Caulder. Rachel wanted to join his youth worship team. A year later, she vanished, and he told us, some lambs are meant to be sacrificed for the kingdom. Authorities reopen Rachel's case. They also find a matchbook in her remains from a New Anointing Retreat Center. A whistleblower provides a video archive from Daniel Richard's original flash drive in one shaky VHS recording. Daniel speaks directly into the camera. Tommy said if anything ever went wrong, he'd fix it. Ivy was an error, a test, but when the prophet said bury her, I obeyed. He looks dead into the lens and whispers, because he said she was dangerous. Investigators uncover a sealed letter in Ivy's archived school file. She gave it to her school counselor in 1994, in case anything ever happened to her. Inside the envelope, names, dates, a hand-drawn network of men she believed were abusing girls. At the top of the list, Thomas Caulder. She'd circled his name in red. Underneath, she wrote, the prophet is not a man of God. He is the God they worship. FBI and state police prepare for a raid on Caulder's compound, located in a gated mountain estate outside Austin. But when they arrive, the gates are open, the mansion is empty, and Reverend Thomas Caulder is gone. No trace, no phone, just a Bible on his desk. Open to Revelation 13, and written in blood-red ink, the Lamb has awakened the beast. August 18th, 2024, 6:42 a.m. FBI agents breached the Ark, Reverend Thomas Caulder's private mountain estate. Security systems disabled, bedrooms untouched, surveillance wiped clean. But in the basement chapel, they discover dozens of melted candles arranged in a circle, a blood-stained robe on the pulpit, a handwritten message on the mirror. You cannot arrest the voice of God. Behind the altar, agents find a concealed passage, a stone-lined tunnel leading deep into the surrounding woods. Caulder had planned his disappearance with military precision. Reverend Thomas Caulder is now America's most wanted fugitive. Airports locked down. Credit card activity frozen. Marshals deployed across state lines. Interpol is notified after an unconfirmed sighting near a private airfield in Belize. 2 days before the raid. But there's more. A newly uncovered shell company connected to Caulder has been quietly moving money to Panama, Rwanda, and Serbia since 2019, millions of dollars labeled as missionary support. This wasn't a man running from justice. It was a planned exodus, even with their leader on the run. Caulder's most loyal followers refuse to believe the allegations. The prophet is in the wilderness, just like Jesus. This is a test of our faith. The accusations are Satan's final push. Some followers sell their homes and vanish. Others gather weekly to pray at the Ark, placing roses and white envelopes at the lock gates. Inside those envelopes, cash, children's drawings, and, in one case, a note reading, "Protect me like you protected Ivy." November 2024. One former cult member, Melissa, now 29, comes forward. She tells the FBI about the prophecy ritual. Every few years, a chosen girl was secretly selected. She would be anointed through a closed-door spiritual encounter. If she resisted, she was offered up. Melissa says Ivy was meant to be the last offering. She was supposed to bring about a new awakening. But Ivy fought back. That's when Caulder ordered her death. He said, "The blood of the unwilling opens the heavens." In a dramatic turn, Ivy's childhood best friend, Tessa, finds an old journal Ivy once gave her for safekeeping. Never open out of fear. Inside are coded entries Ivy wrote months before she died. Dates, drawings, maps, and one name, scribbled dozens of times in the margins. Zion Haven. Investigators cross-reference the name. It's not a place. It's a former redemption circle camp. Sold off in 2007 to a private Christian retreat company registered under an alias, Elijah Fields, a known pseudonym for Thomas Caulder. The retreat, located deep in the Nevada desert, has been abandoned for years, or so they thought, because satellite imagery shows new construction, solar panels, and small groups of people arriving at night. FBI agents begin to prepare for a second raid, but then they receive a video file sent anonymously. It's blurry, shot at night, and it shows Caulder standing at a bonfire, surrounded by silent followers in white robes. He raises his hand and says, "She was only the beginning." Ivy's blood unlocked the first gate. Soon, the veil will break and the lambs will follow. December 2024. After months of surveillance, the FBI, in collaboration with state police and child protection services, prepares to raid Zion Haven, a remote desert compound now confirmed to be under control of fugitive televangelist Thomas Caulder, aka the Prophet. The compound spans over 80 acres. Drones detect 14 small buildings, perimeter cameras, solar towers. Movement patterns indicate dozens of inhabitants, many of them children. Escape members describe the compound as a spiritual ark, where members are stripped of phones, names, and identities. Adults wear white. Children wear red. Speaking during daylight hours is forbidden. Every morning begins with prayer over Ivy's picture, framed in gold at the central chapel, where followers believe she was a lamb who opened the first gate. One woman recalls, "They say her death began the cleansing, that when the sixth lamb dies, the veil will lift and the world will be judged." Former member Jared, now in federal protection, shares, "It's not just faith, it's fear." They show the girls Ivy's picture and say, "She disobeyed, and look what she unlocked." They think she was a holy detonator. And Caulder keeps talking about Gate 2. Worse, multiple sources suggest that the children inside Zion Haven are being groomed for symbolic offering ceremonies. January 3rd, 2025, 4:44 a.m. The raid begins. Agents breach Zion Haven. No resistance. No screams. Just silence. What they find is chilling. Underground prayer chambers with no ventilation. A long hallway of bunk beds, each labeled with a number instead of a name. A sealed metal door marked in chalk. Gate 2. Do not enter without the prophet. Inside, Ivy's childhood diary, preserved in glass. 6 stone altars. A red rope tied around one with dried blood. And on the far wall, in massive red letters, the blood of the innocent unlocks the eternal. 2 days later, a video surfaces online. The prophet, now in ceremonial robes, speaks calmly into the camera. Ivy was the first, Rachel the second. Zion Haven is where the third lamb shall be revealed. You cannot stop the flood. You cannot arrest God's will. Behind him stands a child, maybe 10 years old, dressed in red. She doesn't blink. She doesn't move. She stares directly into the camera. Authorities fear the prophet is preparing another sacrifice, a child from inside the compound. And what's more terrifying, they can't find him. Again, because during the raid, agents uncovered a second hidden exit, leading to an underground tunnel lined with mirrors and ritual markings. At the end of the tunnel was a single word etched in ash. Soon, 3 girls were already dead. The prophet had vanished again. And now, a child stood behind him in a red dress. Was she the next lamb? After the video went public, the FBI released an emergency bulletin. Facial recognition confirms the girl standing behind Thomas Caulder is Amara Green, age 9, reported missing from a Christian youth camp in Arizona just 10 months earlier. She was the daughter of 2 devoted members of Caulder's ministry. Her parents believed she had been chosen. They never filed a police report. They surrendered her willingly. A tech analyst spots something chilling in the prophet's broadcast. A faint reflection of an oil drum, a blue flame flickering near the frame, and GPS metadata, not fully stripped, coordinates lead to an abandoned mining facility in Montana, just 6 miles from the Canadian border. Federal agents partner with SWAT and Border Patrol, launch Operation Shepherd's End. January 17th, 2025, 3:12 a.m. Agents breach the facility. Inside, 23 cult members in ceremonial white. A blazing fire pit surrounded by open Bibles. And in the center, standing on a platform, Amara untouched but visibly sedated. The prophet is nowhere to be found. But beneath the platform, they discover something else. A sealed vault, a pre-recorded confession video, and 3 burial chambers, 2 used, 1 freshly dug. Thomas Caulder, calm, smiling, seated in front of a candle. You were never chasing a man. You were chasing prophecy. Ivy Richard unlocked the first gate. Yes, but she was not the beginning. The beginning was my awakening. And the end is in you. By watching this, you have already accepted the truth. Behind him, in the video, is a spiral symbol carved into the wall, a symbol now recognized in over 7 former Redemption Circle locations. Amara is rescued. She undergoes medical treatment. She speaks for the first time 3 weeks later. Her words? He said Ivy was a lamb. I was supposed to be a lion. She confirms Caulder told her she would complete the gates, but he fled days before the ritual because the world wasn't ready yet. During the cleanup at Zion Haven, agents discover a second copy of Ivy Richards' diary, intact, hidden in a hollowed-out book. The final page reads, "If you're reading this, I hope I was wrong. But if I'm right, please remember, I wasn't brave. I was terrified, but I spoke anyway. Don't forget me. Don't let them rewrite the story. I am not a gate. I am a girl." Ivy Richards' murder wasn't just a tragedy. It was a match, one that lit up a secret world of silence, control, and corruption. She was the first of all, but because she fought back, she became the reason others could rise. Thomas Caulder remains at large. Last known location, Glacier National Forest, Montana. Over 19 arrests were made in connection with the Redemption Circle. 42 victims have come forward. Many are receiving therapy and support through Ivy's foundation, established by her biological father. Ivy's diary is now archived in the National Museum of Crime and Justice. Sometimes justice doesn't look like a courtroom verdict. Sometimes it's a story that survives, even when the villain is still breathing, and the hero never got to. In memory of Ivy Richard, 1977 to 1994, she was never a lamb. She was a warning. What are your thoughts on this case? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel to stay updated with more stories, where each case isn't just about crime, but also offers a lesson for life.